The cold case that no one ever expected to be solved is, of course, a huge step closer to being solved.
I think Suge Knight knows who the shooter was. I think he's still trying to muddy the water.
Is the Art of Dialogue asked Suge Knight, did he see the shooter?
Suge Knight has just blown the lid off Tupac's murder, and the names he dropped have everybody stunned. After nearly 30 years of silence, the only surviving witness from that car in Las Vegas is now claiming he knows exactly who set it up.
Say, I was gonna mention Reggie Wright has been identified by Keefe D. I wanna put that out there. And you recently had that was part of your theory with us, that he had something to do.
The bombshell dropped during a podcast interview when Suge was asked point blank about September 7th, 1996. And this time, he didn't dodge. He didn't give cryptic hints. He laid it out straight. When it came to us getting shot in Vegas, that was crooked police working with some rat gang members who were mad because Tupac fired them, and they fired back. That statement landed heavy. It echoed rumors that have floated around for years but were never proven. And Suge wasn't talking about random Crips angry over the MGM Grand altercation. He was pointing at people inside Death Row's own security circle. People who knew Pac's every move, people who had access to his schedule, and the name Suge zeroed in on. Someone who spent years in interviews presenting himself as a man seeking justice. Reggie Wright Jr., the head of Death Row Security, the man hired to keep Tupac safe. Suge says he was one of the people who helped set it up. According to Suge, Tupac fired Reggie just days before that Vegas trip. Not just him, Death Row attorney David Kenner too. Pac allegedly realized they weren't working in his best interest. The termination was dated August 27, 1996, documented in a letter written by Yasmin Fula to Pac's godmother at Pac's instruction. For years, Reggie denied that ever happened. He claimed he was still head of security, the night Pac was shot, and portrayed himself as loyal to the end.
Everybody kept saying Orlando Anderson was the shooter. Well, we know Orlando Anderson wasn't the shooter because Orlando's shoulder got kicked out the socket. He went to the hospital, and it was said.
But Suge's version tears that narrative apart. If Reggie was fired on August 27th, then by September 7th, the Vegas shooting, he had no official role at Death Row, no authority, no business coordinating anything. Yet somehow, Reggie was still moving behind the scenes, communicating with security, claiming he was at Club 662 handling operations for Suge that night. Suge says that's flat out false. According to him, Reggie had no authorization to be involved at all. So the real question becomes, if Reggie wasn't employed anymore, why was he still around Tupac's security setup? And who exactly was he representing?
It was said that by the time he left the hospital and got back to the hotel, they had him on surveillance camera.
The firing, Suge suggests, wasn't just about performance. It was about trust. Specifically, Tupac allegedly discovering Reggie had ties to law enforcement. Former FBI agent Phil Carson has publicly stated that Reggie Wright Jr. acted as a confidential informant, providing information about Death Row's operations and gang affiliations. That's not internet gossip. That claim surfaced through official channels. And if true, that creates a serious conflict. Running security for one of hip-hop's most controversial labels while feeding info to authorities. That's explosive. When Tupac allegedly found out, he reportedly wanted Reggie gone immediately. Having someone in your inner circle who's connected to the feds while you're already under pressure is a major liability.
He see the shooter that shot him and killed Tupac, and did they work for Death Row? Orlando Anderson never worked for Death Row.
Here's where it gets even more interesting. Just 3 days after Tupac died, Reggie reportedly went to the Los Angeles Police Department and gave information about Suge employing gang members at Death Row who carried illegal weapons. That tip led to traffic stops, investigations, and mounting pressure on Suge, eventually contributing to his parole violations and prison time. Look at the timeline. Tupac was shot September 7th. He passed September 13th. By September 16th, Reggie was cooperating with LAPD. The timing raises eyebrows. It suggests he wasn't just casually reporting things. He was actively assisting authorities.
Tupac Shakur got killed. It was under the Nevada state jurisdiction, state of California. None of this stuff is fair. Everybody, oh, the FBI came, the FBI. No, none of this is fair.
Now Suge's claim about crooked cops working alongside gang members starts to connect dots. If Reggie had law enforcement ties and street connections, he had access on both sides. He also had motive. For decades, Reggie has appeared in documentaries, done interviews, and positioned himself as someone who tried to protect Tupac but couldn't stop what happened. Suge is now saying that image is false, that it wasn't incompetence that night, it was sabotage. And when you revisit Reggie's statements over the years, more inconsistencies pop up.
And a part of that story, you have Vlad coming out saying that he solved the Tupac murder.
In different interviews, Reggie has told conflicting stories about when he found out he was fired. In one version, he said it happened in June 1996 at a House of Blues party during an NFL draft celebration. But the termination letter is dated August 27th, 1996, 2 months later. Either his timeline is seriously off, or he's adjusting the story to distance himself from the Vegas shooting. Suge insists the firing happened in late August, right before Vegas, which completely undercuts Reggie's June narrative.
Says that to Antoine Fuqua, that Reggie's boy cut him off at the last minute and blocked him in, and then the other guy, Trayvon, was on his left.
There's also the issue of the convoy. Reggie has claimed he wasn't riding with Tupac and Suge because he was at Club 662 preparing for the after-party. Suge says that doesn't add up. If Reggie was terminated, he had no authority to be handling anything that night. And if he truly cared about Tupac's safety, why wasn't he positioned directly behind them during one of the most vulnerable moments of the night? Cruising through Vegas streets. According to Suge, the reason is simple. Reggie allegedly knew what was about to happen and made sure he wasn't anywhere near the scene. Frank Alexander, Tupac's bodyguard who was in the convoy, has supported parts of this story. Frank said Reggie asked him to tell police that Orlando Anderson tried to snatch Tupac's chain at the MGM Grand, something Frank insisted never happened. Frank refused. He later testified that Reggie pressured him to change his statement. It didn't stop there. Frank reportedly recorded phone calls where Reggie encouraged him to avoid subpoenas, suggesting that if he didn't testify, everything would be fine. Publicly, Reggie claimed he wanted the truth to come out. Privately, Frank said he was being told the opposite. And the person who has been pointing at Reggie Wright Jr. for years, from behind bars, is someone most people dismissed. But now, with Suge speaking out, those accusations are getting a
The arrest
look.
in the Tupac Shakur murder 27 years later really shocked everyone last week, and we still have questions about why now.
Keith D, the man currently
Kafton, the man currently charged in Tupac's 2023 murder case, has been pointing fingers at Reggie Wright Jr. since the moment he was arrested. In court and in conversations with investigators, Keith has repeatedly said that if he's taking the fall for Tupac's death, then Reggie should be charged in connection with Biggie's murder too. According to Keith, both killings were tied to the same larger conspiracy, involving crooked cops and powerful industry figures working together to remove threats. A lot of people brushed that off as Keith trying to dodge accountability. But now that Suge is publicly backing up claims about Reggie's involvement, Keith's statements don't sound so far-fetched anymore. Because here's the real question. How would Keith D know about Reggie's alleged role unless there was some kind of connection? Unless he'd dealt with people in Reggie's circle, or been hired through channels tied.
The man who is now charged with the murder confessed in 2008 that he was involved and has been saying it very openly in interviews that he handed the gun to a guy named Orlando Anderson, his nephew.
The bigger picture forming from all this suggests Tupac's death wasn't just street payback. It may have been a calculated hit with layers, different players, different motives. Reggie Wright Jr. allegedly had personal reasons, Revenge for being fired and protecting his reported informant ties after Tupac discovered them. Corrupt officers may have viewed Tupac as too influential, too outspoken about police brutality and systemic racism. Gang members had the opportunity and the incentive, money and reputation. And then there's the industry angle. Some believe certain music executives or rivals, possibly from the East Coast, had financial motivation. Tupac alive meant competition. Tupac meant profit. It's uncomfortable to say, but in business, numbers talk.
Keefe's story is that Orlando pulled the trigger and fired the shots into the car, which Suge Knight was driving. Tupac was the passenger.
Tupac was killed and Suge was shot.
hit but survived.
What makes Suge's statements hit differently is simple. He was there, sitting next to Tupac when the shots rang out. He's the only surviving witness from that car who saw it unfold. For nearly 3 decades, Suge kept his comments vague. He avoided direct accusations and never fully cooperated with authorities, but now he's putting names on record, out loud, publicly, pointing straight at who he believes orchestrated the setup. Whether prosecutors act on it is another story, but once it's said publicly, it can't just disappear. So why wait 30 years? What shift?
Shooter, the person who shot Tupac, did you get to see their face? And was this a person that worked for Death Row?
What I would say is this.
Part of it likely comes down to survival. Suge has spent years in and out of prison dealing with his own cases. Accusing someone with alleged law enforcement ties while you're behind bars. That's risky, extremely risky. But now, with the Keefe D trial moving forward and national attention back on the case, silence may not offer protection anymore. Suge may have realized the story was going to resurface with or without him. By speaking now, he controls his version of events. He positions himself as someone who always knew, but couldn't talk until the timing made.
Well, surprise number one, because I didn't think Keefe D would never get arrested. Nor do I want to see him get arrested.
There's also the reality that many of the key players are no longer in a position to retaliate. Some are dead, some are incarcerated, others are out of the spotlight entirely. Reggie Wright Jr. isn't a major industry figure anymore, and his name has already been linked to allegations of corruption and informant activity. The officers Suge referenced are retired or under scrutiny. Several of the alleged street-level participants are either deceased or locked up on unrelated charges. The environment has shifted. The risk level isn't what it used to be, and speaking out now also benefits Suge personally. For years, critics blamed him, saying his management style, security choices, and gang affiliations created the conditions that got Tupac killed. By pointing to Reggie as the alleged mastermind, Suge reframes himself as a victim of betrayal, a man shot in the head while trying to shield Tupac. Is that fully accurate, or is it strategic storytelling? That depends on who you ask, but it's clearly the narrative Suge wants cemented.
Suge Knight, I know, if he knew a way that he can get on a stand or testify and identify Keefe D and the world don't find out about it, he would do it, but he can't.
One thing is undeniable. Suge Knight has just shifted the entire conversation about Tupac's murder. This case can no longer be neatly labeled as simple gang violence, not when the man sitting beside Tupac says it was orchestrated by Death Row's own head of security in coordination with corrupt police. The Keefe D trial may focus on the alleged shooters. But if Suge's claims hold weight, then the people who planned it could still be out there untouched. Which means justice for... Now the real question is whether anyone in power will dig deeper, or if this becomes just another unresolved chapter in hip-hop's darkest mystery. Make sure you subscribe because this story is far from finished, and if more details surface, it could change everything all over again.